There are a handful of different ways to save for college. One of those ways is using a 529 savings plan. And a 529 savings plan works a lot like a Roth IRA, just for educational planning. Now, it goes in after tax, will grow tax deferred, and if you use it for qualified educational expenses, it'll come out tax free. And one of the biggest challenges in starting a 529 plan, or any college savings plan for that matter, is just to start to save. But it's not hard to open up an account and just put money into it. What's hard is knowing what the impact on the amount that you can save will have on reaching that goal. So it's where you are right now, how much you can save, and how much you need to save in order to reach that educational goal. It's really about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So in this video, I want to walk through a free and simple calculator to help give you the confidence in starting your college savings plan. But before we do, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, Certified Financial Planner, helping you reach your financial goals. Now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to walk through a 529 calculator from the Utah 529 College Savings Plan. And this calculator you can use for any savings goal for educational planning. The big difference, it's going to help you estimate what those costs are. And I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know to start your college savings plan. So let me start by pulling it up on the screen and we'll walk through it together. And as we go through it together, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this calculator, and I'll also leave a link in the description at the bottom. So let me pull it up on the screen and we'll go through it together. Now, this calculator is from the My529 plan in Utah. Now, you don't need to use the Utah 529 plan in order to use this calculator. It is free. So if you have another 529 plan that works better for you, especially if you're getting an income tax break in your particular state, then it might be more beneficial to use that state's 529 plan. But we're just going to go through this calculator because it's free, it's simple, and it's a great way to get the confidence that you need to start to save for college savings. So let's go ahead and go through it together. At the very top, put in your beneficiary's name. So if you're the parent, it's going to be your child's name. Grandparent, your grandchild's name. Guardian, it's going to be your beneficiary's name. Or if you're just donating to somebody, it's going to be their name. So just go ahead and put that in there. And then we are going to select this state. Now, I'm in the state of Florida, so I will leave it as Florida, but go ahead and put your state, and then we can look at the ages. So if you're going to put in baby pre-K, which I will through this walkthrough, then I will also choose the birth year. And the little question mark here will tell you exactly when it's going to start. So this is assuming that we're going to use these funds starting on the 18th birthday. And then we can choose the school. Now, this is the neat part about using this calculator rather than just using a regular financial calculator to do the math, because you can actually choose an estimate of a particular school or the averages. So you can choose what you want and kind of work the numbers out to kind of get that game plan and that goal that's right for you. So let's go ahead and we'll choose the Florida Public 4-year in-state, and will give us the estimated costs based on the birth year of the beneficiary. And we can see the savings goal over here is just under $60,000. And look at this. If we actually change it to the National Public 4-year, we can see it adjusts again over here, the savings goal. And we can also change, if we want, we could change what we're going to cover. Do we want to cover the tuition, which are the expenses, only books, or also housing? So if we just uncheck it, it will change that goal. And you can see as I do it, that savings goal changes. So we'll leave all three checked just for this walkthrough again. Now, inflation. Now, inflation's a big one when it comes to schools. It inflates higher than normal inflation. Now, over the last 10 years, we've had really low inflation, which also means that schools haven't inflated quite as much as they did in the past. Now, that doesn't mean they're low because it's higher than regular inflation. And I'll show you what those numbers are in just a second. But we can change this, which will change this savings goal. So if we put in 6%, you could see that the goal changes. And that is what's going to change when we're choosing our inflation rate. So that's the rate of the price increases of school. So whether it's tuition, books, or housing. So it's using and applying that inflation rate. Now let me show you a little on inflation. Now this is over the last 10 years, and I have comparing it to college tuition costs versus the consumer price index or inflation. And we can see the annualized rates up here. For college, it's at 3.07%, where the CPI or inflation is at 1.77%. So it's almost twice as much as regular inflation or regular all other goods. School is inflating at twice the rate. Now let's take a look from 10 years ago, and I'll put it to the year 2000, and we'll just make it January 1st, 2000, and we'll put it to January 1st, 2010. And that's where you're going to see a much higher rate of inflation on schools because regular inflation is also higher than it is right now on average. So on an annualized rate, schools were inflating at 6.76% from 2000 to 2010. So while the rate of inflation has decreased for schools, it's still higher than regular inflation. So you just need to consider that as you're starting your goal. It doesn't mean that inflation is all of a sudden going to go up again, but rates are really low right now, and that's what's driving down inflation and also school pricing. So you just want to understand that as you're starting that goal. So if we go back to the calculator for a second, and we're going to leave it at 3% for now, but I just wanted to show you a little bit on the inflation side of what that looks like. So this is why you don't just start the goal, set it, and forget it. You want to start the goal, but come back and revisit it as things change, such as inflation or the cost of school. So the future cost right here for all 4 years will be $158,386. And our funding, if we put it up to 100%, you can see that also increases the savings goal. So before I had it only at 40, I think we had it at 44%. So that's why it was only showing the $69,690. So here's another thing that you can take a look at, the total future cost and how much you want to cover. So let's say you decided to cover only tuition and books, and you only wanted to pay for half of it. Then you can set that goal up to get an idea of how much you need to save. And then we can come down here to our current savings. If you have nothing saved, just leave it at 0. And then we can put in our monthly contribution. So let's say we started at $50. Whoops. Let's say we started at $50 and bring this back up to 50%. We could see that our goal or future college savings would only reach $19,076, but our total goal was $46,122. So here's where we can play around with how much we need to save in order to reach that goal or adjust the actual goal. Saying, you know what, that's just too much for me. I'm going to bring it down. We're going to cover 40%. The reason this is so important as you're starting to save for that goal and as you're getting closer to the goal, then you also want to look at alternative funding sources or other ways to kind of fill in that gap, whether it's with student loans or scholarships or which school that your child is going to go to. So all of these things could change over time, and that's why we want to come back and just revisit this goal. But again, just starting the goal and having some idea what that impact is going to be based on any amount that you can actually save. And then let's also not forget one of the most important things are the investments. Now, an investment of 6% is what was the default on this calculator, but if we bring it up to 8%, we could see that the numbers will also change. Bring it to 6%, and we can see that it adjusts right here to $47,176. And then if we look right down here to the current rate of return at 6%, let's say we bring it up to 8%, we could see this jumps. And if we go over to our chart again, we can see what the rate of return of the S&P 500, and we'll get rid of the other two on the graph. And we could see from the 10-year chart, we're at 14.11% on an annualized basis for the S&P 500. I would say it's a little on the high side of an expectation. And if we put it to the max, it's at 10.1% to give you an idea of rates of return. Now, remember, with investments, past performance is not a guarantee of future returns. You just want to understand that when you're choosing your investments. But if we come back to here, we choose a more conservative than 10%, we go to 8%, then we can see that it will change our goal. Again, I'm going to show you that number again. So if we go back down to 6%, we're going to look at that future savings. If I put 6%, it will adjust it for us. So it went to 38,000. And if we bring it up to 8%, it's going to go to 47,176. So really important part of it is choosing the right investment for your time horizon and your risk tolerance. So that is at 8%. And then also, obviously, what's going to affect it is the going back up to the tuition and inflation. That will affect the goal. So you have these two basic goalposts of getting to the goal and how much we can actually save and what it'll actually be. And that's where you want to play around with all of these numbers. Now, if you're thinking about this to say, okay, I just want to assume we're getting a higher rate of return, then that is also going to mean that whatever you're putting towards that goal, if you get 10%, that's great. But to plan to get 10% might mean that you think it's okay to save less. So be careful if you're putting in too high of a rate on the rate of return. And 8% would be more on the aggressive side as far as a target goes. Now, again, if you get higher than an 8%, then that's great. But you don't want to shortchange yourself thinking that you're just going to solve the problem by taking on more risk. So this will help you work out the numbers and go back and forth with inflation, the cost of school, the savings, the monthly contribution, and the rate of return to give you an idea of what that impact's going to be. So again, let's just say that I wanted to start out and we're going to save $25 a month. Then you have an idea of where you're going to be. You can understand that if you're going to go in an in-state, let's say we're going to go Florida in-state right here, and we're only going to pay for tuition, and we're going to say that we're going to cover 25% and let the student worry about the other 75%. We could see that we're going to have the future college savings of $11,794. Even though our goal was $14,616. So you say, okay, well, if I just add, let's add $5 more. Let's make it $30 and see what that does. And we can see it gets closer to that goal. We're almost there. And then we're going to do $35. So making a little bit of a difference right there might have been the difference of us reaching that goal versus not reaching that goal. And you could see that was only over $10. So we just increased it a little bit. And it could be the same for any rate. If you're going to say, hey, I'm going to save $80, what is that going to look like versus going to $90? You can run it really quickly and to get a good idea of what the impact on the amount that you can save in order to reach that goal. And the other nice thing too is you can always increase it, but you can't go back in time and say, hey, I wish I had saved just a little bit more earlier on to reach the goal. If you understand today what the sacrifice needs to be in order to reach that financial goal, well, then you have a much better shot at actually reaching that educational goal. So that's how the 529 College Savings Calculator works, and it's meant to give you the confidence you need to get started. It doesn't matter how little you're gonna save, if it's $25 or $250 or somewhere in between, it doesn't matter. You just wanna make sure that you're starting that goal so you understand the impact it's gonna have, really, so you stick with the plan and you really have the confidence in what it looks like to reach the educational goal. So let me know in the comments down below if this has helped to get it started for your 529 college savings plan or any other plan that you're going to use for college savings. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.